Hey guys, it's Mr. HD Gamer 101 here. Back from a very long break, and I'm very sorry about that break. Hopefully, I am back, or at least for a little while. Plan to do videos, hopefully, one a week. But, anyway, we're here today with two $500 computer builds. Gaming computer builds. One being Intel, the other one being AMD. So, let's jump right into it. First off, for our Intel build, we have the Intel Core i3 4130 3.4 GHz LGA 1150 processor. It's a 4th gen Intel Core i3, so it's got integrated graphics, and we're going to be taking advantage of that today. So unfortunately, I couldn't fit a graphics card into our $500 computer build with all of other things. But down the line, you'll see some options that are optional, and you can get a dedicated GPU if one of those things you already have or you would not like. So anyway, it's a dual core i3. It's on the LGA 1150 socket. It's 3.4 gigahertz, non-overclockable. Alright, so moving on. For our motherboard, we have the MSI Computer Corp LGA 1150 socket motherboard. It's got DDR3 16 gigs of it compatible, and SATA 3 and USB 3 compatible as well. So we have two system fans available on this. Sorry, that was my phone, guys. CPU fan, and we have a 4-pin ATX power and 20 plus 4-pin power. Then we have 4 SATA 6 gig ports and a PCI 2.0 slot here for a graphics card, a PCI one-time slot over there for something like a FireWire card or something like along those lines. We also have 4 USB 2.0 slots, along with 2 USB 3.0 slots. We have VGA and HDMI with HD audio, PS2 ports, and Ethernet support. Moving on. For our memory, we have Kingston HyperX Blue 8GB. 8 GB 1600 1600 megahertz DDR3 RAM. It is 2 4 gig modules, so we will be running this in dual channel. So it's 8 gigabytes of RAM. Nice. You will be able to run a lot of games on this, especially a lot of last gen and most of new gen. Alright, so moving on. We have the Seagate Barracuda 1TB HDD SATA 6 gigabytes. It's just a normal 1TB hard drive made by Seagate. And SATA 6, so yeah. Alright, anyway, moving on. For our power supply, we have the Sentry Extreme 550 watt power supply. It is a modular power supply, so it is modular, and you will get cable management will be on your side this time. So it's a modular 550 watt power supply. It should last us a long time. Way more power than we need, but you'll be able to make a lot of upgrades in the future, and over time it will deteriorate. But 550 watts, we're only going to need less than 150, I would imagine. So yeah, it's got a 140 millimeter fan. If you want, you can pause the video right here, and you can see all the specs and all of the modular cables it comes with. Okay, moving on. We have the LG optical DVD drive. I like to include optical DVD drives just because I use DVDs all the time, and when I don't use them all the time, it's still a nice feature to have. You can write on them and you can read off of them. So yeah, just if you don't want it, there's $16 to spend on something. Okay. So moving on, we have the Antec Micro ATX tower case. You can fit a full ATX in here. I would not recommend it, but it is possible. You have water cooling capability, a 120 millimeter included back mounted fan, top mounted PSU. And then on the front port, IO ports, you have for your front connectors, you have the 2 USB 2.0s, HD audio, power, and reset switch. You have options for a front internal 120 millimeter fan, then 2 120 mounted fans there. 3, looks like, actually. Possibly 2. I don't know. Looks deceiving. Okay. You get 5.25 inch bays there. Then you get, I believe, 2.5 inch bays. 3.5 inch bays in there. Alright, moving on. This is our last component in this build, and this is included in the price. Windows 8.1 System Builder OEM DVD, 64-bit. I do not like it when people do not include operating system, but I am including operating system. If you already have your own copy or know where to get one and you don't want to use this one, then go ahead. And if you don't need it at all, then there's $100 to spend on either a graphics card or a better CPU. So, next up is our AMD build. So I'll see you guys in a couple of seconds. Now is our AMD $500 gaming computer. So, to start off with our CPU, we have the AMD A6 54,000, not 54,000, I'm sorry, 5,400K APU 3.6 processor. It is 3.6 gigahertz, overclockable to, I believe, 4 gigahertz. It is the A6 series, so it is more geared towards gaming. Unfortunately, this is only a dual core processor, but you could easily upgrade it to a quad core processor in the future. And if you want to spend a little bit more money, it will still be under $500, I believe, for the next processor. So it's a nice dual core processor. It's got the APU included in it, which you can take advantage of if you would like to. It is a optional part to get the graphics card I am including in this. It is included in the price. It is still under $500, but if you're not going to get that GPU, you can use this or upgrade it to a better CPU. So, moving on. For our motherboard, we have the MSI A78M-E35 FM2 Plus and FM2 AMD motherboard. So it is HDMI compatible along with SATA 6 and USB 3 compatible. We have the standard 4-pin power, ATX power, and 20 plus 4-pin power, along with 2 slots of 1600 megahertz RAM, all the way up to 16 gigs of it. You have 2 system fans plus CPU fan. Then you also have 6 SATA 6 ports. You have a USB 3.0 header, and you have USB 3 on the back. Then you also have a PCIe 2 slot, PCIe 1X, and 4X, I believe. So, then for the back connectors, we have PS2s. We have 4 USB 2s, VGA, DVI, HDMI, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and an Ethernet port, and HD audio out the back. It's a nice motherboard. Alright, next up, this is a optional part in this build. It is the graphics card. It's the EVGA GeForce GT 630 2 gig model. I think if I was getting this build, I would get this or a graphics card in a similar price range as this. This is, I think, more towards the workstation, but for gaming it is just as good. It's better than the APU in the processor, so I would still use it. You can also find a couple AMD cards at around this price range. Then you could run that in Crossfire with the APU inside the processor, so you would run a little bit faster. You also have 2 DVIs and a HDMI out the back of this one. You get 96 CUDA cores with this. Again, it's 2 megabytes. It's the 2 gig card. It is running at a 128-bit bus. So, moving on. For our memory, we have the Kingston HyperX Blue 8 gig, same as the Intel build. It is two 4 gig modules. It's 1600 megahertz DDR3. So, it's Kingston, it's HyperX, it's nice memory. Moving on. We have the same hard drive, the Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte, SATA 6 gig. So, it's a nice hard drive that's a terabyte. Alright, moving on. We have the same exact power supply. We have the Century Extreme 550 watt power supply. I just said power supply twice in the same sentence. Okay, so if you want, you can pause it here to look at all of the connections. It is a modular power supply, so cable management will be on your side for once. You'll still have to tie back a couple of cables, I'm sure, but it's still better. Alright, you have a 140 millimeter fan mounted on this thing. So, it'll be plenty of power to power this and upgrades down the line and over deterioration. So, it will be plenty. So, moving on. For our optical drive, we have the LG Electronics optical DVD drive. It is a nice DVD drive. If you can hear that, I'm sorry. Are you knocking on my door? Sorry, guys. Okay. So, it's... Sorry, guys, if you can hear that background noise. Alright, so it's just a nice optical drive, and it reads, it writes. I like including optical drives just because I use them all the time. So, yeah. Moving on. I'm sorry, there's a fight going on over there. Okay then. Moving on. For our case, we have the Antec Micro ATX tower case. You can put a full-sized ATX motherboard in here. I would not recommend it, but it's possible. You have water cooling options. We are not using water cooling in this, I'm sorry. We have a 120 millimeter back-mounted fan with options for a 120 millimeter fan, intake fan out the front, right there if you can see through. Then you also have option for 2 or I believe 3, I'm not sure, 120 millimeter fans on the side. It's top-mounted PSU. For our front panel, we have 2 USB 2.0s, HD audio, and power and reset switches. We have 3 5.25 inch bays as well on the outside. Then on the inside, we have 2 3.5. Yep, drive bays in there. So, moving on, this is our final component. Yes, I do include these in the price. So, you get Windows 8, 8.1 System Builder OEM DVD, 64-bit included. If you already have your own version of Windows somewhere, or you want to get Windows 7, you can go ahead and do that. I am including Windows 8.1 in this. If you already have your own at home, then you have $100 to spend on what I would do, a better dedicated one that is AMD, then also a better CPU in there, possibly a quad core. So, anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is like my 5th or 6th recording at this because I always get interrupted or mess up or use the wrong microphone or whatever. So, I really hope this one is correct. Really hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see you guys next time. See you later.